Alright, no picture for today, I guess. I don't know, I'm kind of running out of stupid Trump faces to put up. Actually, that's a lie. I have plenty. I just didn't really want to put one up. Alright, Trump's topic for today is going to be probably part one of many involving the White House's budget plan. Now, this is a topic I have covered some of the initial parts of previously, but this one now, recently, and I'll post links to various articles as usual in the description. But now we have more of a cleaner, more fleshed out sort of proposal from the White House, and oh boy. I'm not gonna be able to fit this all into one video, to be honest. Like, I'm gonna cover a part of it today. Son of a bitch. Okay, I'm gonna cover a part of it today. Like today, I'm kind of feeling like a clean energy EPA kind of mood, so I'll cover the various cuts and how backwards this plan is on those subjects. But believe me, I will be making more about this. I just can't put it. I cannot put all of the incredibly valid gripes about this. And hey, wait a second, this is a bad fucking ideas. I can't fit them all into one damn video. That's how much of a pile of shit this latest development is. So I will have to break it up into, like, I don't know, a series, a mini series. I don't know how Trump is fucking us today. With your host, Richard Barella. Welcome. Filmed in front of a live studio audience. Not really. So, anyway, without further ado, let's just like dive into this friggin' pig farm shit pond and start treading whatever it is that's in there. Okay. Basically, Trump's budget is just like a general overview. If it involves the military, or the border, it's getting a boost to funding. That's it. Like, everything else is getting cut. Everything else is getting fucking cut. From the EPA, the NOAA, HUD, Housing and Urban Development. Here, I'll give you the quick overview, like the areas that are getting cut, and then get into my particular gripes for this one. Alright, here are the big ones. Of course, increase in military spending. I've already spoken about this. Over $50 billion increase, which should bring the grand total up to $639 billion. Billion with a B. Dollars. 639 billion. I cannot stress that enough. How much money we are pouring into the fucking military. And, oh, well, let's give them another 52, 54, whatever. Over 50. Okay, so in addition to just that, there's like a 7% increase to Department of Homeland Security, 6% increase to Department of Veterans Affairs. At least there's that. But interestingly enough, a $667 million reduction in grants to state and local governments, including FEMA grants. So thanks, America first. Whatever. Okay, moving on. 31% cut to the EPA budget, from $8.2 billion down to $5.7, the lowest level adjusted for inflation in 40 years, below where even the assholes in the GOP in Congress wanted to cut it. More than 50 programs would be eliminated, as would 3,200 jobs. Yay, America, making America great again by laying off people. What an asshole. Alright, specifically, the budget discontinues funding for the Clean Power Plan, international climate change programs, climate change research and partnership programs, and related efforts, and reduces Superfund cleanup funding. I should have read that part last, because I really want to break into my rant about this. Okay. I will save that for the end. Let's just get through this list. 28% cut in the State Department budget, with particularly harsh cuts to the U.S. Agency for International Development, USAID, the Global Climate Change Initiative, and UN climate change programs would see funding cut off, and other UN funding, including peacekeeping, would be cut, and development banks like the World Bank would see a $650 million cut over 3 years. Significant cuts to just about every other department, including 21% to agriculture and labor, 18% to health and human services, 16% to commerce, 14% to education, 13% to housing and urban development, 13% to transportation, and 12% to Department of Interior. The Education Department would get a $1.4 billion for new school choice programs, including those fucking vouchers. That's not a quote, I added that part. Private school vouchers, but would see cuts to before school, after school, and summer programs, and also a $2.4 billion teacher professional development program, and need-based grants to help with college tuition. Huge cuts to medical and science research spending, including a $6 billion or 18% reduction in the National Institutes for Health budget, a $900 million cut to the Energy Department's Office of Science, because who needs science? We'll keep making money with fucking coal. I'll get into that in a second. Okay, stay on topic. A $250 million cut to the National Oceanic NOAA. NOAA. That is the one federal agency that, God, they need an abbreviation. Because that's a mouthful. NOAA. Anyway, $250 million cut to the NOAA grants for research and education, and eliminating the Advanced Research Projects Agency, Energy. Energy. It's like DARPA, but remove the D and add -energy to the end. Total elimination of the National Endowment for the Arts, the National Endowment for the Humanities, the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, the Legal Services Corporation, the United States Institute of Peace, and 14 other agencies. Okay, second. It's a lot of words. It's taken me like 9 minutes just to get this far. See, that's what I mean. I can't cover all this in one fucking video because there's just so much. Just reading the damn list took me almost 10 minutes. Alright, let's get to the EPA stuff. Okay, 31% cut to the EPA budget. More than 50 programs would be eliminated, as would 3,200 jobs. Would discontinue funding for the Clean Power Plan, international climate change programs, climate change research and partnership programs, related efforts, and reduces Superfund cleanup. That's bad. Let me go over that real quick, too. Specifically that a lot of people, especially on the right, don't ever like to think about the fact that the EPA does more than spreading the Chinese hoax as climate change, okay? They do basically anything. They're in charge of practically everything involving just the general environment. The stuff that even the fucking Republicans used to at least agree was bad. You know, like dumping arsenic into water supplies, things like that, you know? Lead in paint and, you know, friggin' fly ash from, or, you know, coal ash or something from power plants being dumped into rivers. That kind of stuff. Like, for instance, the Superfund. One of the things that spurred the Superfund program or legislation and that part of the EPA was an incident called a Love Canal disaster. There's a town, the town of Love Canal. I think it was yeah. I forget what state it was in, but basically there was like a plan at some point, like, I don't know, like 1900, late 1800s, something like that, a while ago, to build a canal. I think it was supposed to. Anyway, that part of the story is not really important. What is important is the plan failed, and basically what they had was a trench left over that went for a few hundred feet or a few hundred yards, something like that. Now, a company called Hooker Chemical purchased the land and the trench and basically used it as a pit to dump toxic waste in. Unlined, they did not line it, they didn't do anything to keep the waste from leaking or seeping out. They just put barrels and barrels of highly toxic waste in this trench. Then when the trench was full, they covered it over. Then they sold the land that the trench was on to the local school district to use as an elementary school. But it's okay. They said they told him and they had him sign a waiver. Now there are other factors at work here. There's other questions like why the fuck a school district would be like, hey, yeah, sure, this land has toxic waste underneath it, but you know we got it cheap, so we'll put kids on it. That's something that's a valid point. But the thing is, at that time, there was nothing to stop it. There was nothing set up by the federal government to clean these areas and decontaminate them. And so what happened is they covered over this toxic waste dump. They had the school board sign a waiver, release it, supposedly like saying, "Oh, we're not responsible for it anymore." And then the school board built an elementary school on top of a toxic waste dump. All right, and they had heavy rains. They had this and that, various other things. The waste started leaking, and basically the entire town, mostly got bought out and had to leave, because of, you know, toxic waste was bubbling up into their freaking backyards and basements. People were having, you know, constant illnesses. They're, you know, getting fucking cancer. It was bad. It was nasty. And that is why we have the Superfund cleanup legislation, is because of incidents like that, so that the federal government can step in when the state can't afford it, when the local government can't afford it. They can step in, they can they can make the company that originally put it there cough up money to help clean it up, and they can provide federal funding to get this shit cleaned up and out of the ground. All right, that has nothing to do with climate change. It has everything to do with known toxins and dangerous chemicals that these companies like leave around like it's nothing. And how those get cleaned up and how you prevent the population from getting, you know, getting sick and having birth defects and cancers and, you know, heading for an early grave because of this crap. And, you know, of course, that's one of the things on the chopping block, and they don't get it. They don't even think that far ahead. Or maybe they are, and they just don't give a shit. So that, you know, various corporate interests are like, hey, if we didn't have to worry about paying for this and cleaning up this mess, it'd really help us. And, it really is kind of overreaching government regulation. Oh, well, that sounds good to me. Here, let me just another sip of this. And that's the thing. And really, when you think about it, it does kind of make sense from their sick, twisted point of view, because the EPA, while not everything they do has anything to do with climate change or climate change research, practically everything they do involves doing something that these corporations don't like. And so I guess that makes sense why they want to cut it. And that's one of the things that pissed me off about it too, because it's like, okay, climate change is one of those things. It's a hot potato. They like to kind of, it's a can they like to kick down the road. Even the politicians that say they believe in it, 99% of them are like, oh yeah, we have to do something about climate change by promoting fracking. Like, okay, like it's kind of like, okay, this is where we are in 2017. That, we're still having this. It's not even a debate. It's like, that's the thing too. I hate like, oh, the debate on climate change. There is no fucking debate. It's happening. But and what we don't have like, the debate on climate change. Again, it's not a debate anymore. It's a fact. What we have is, one political party that at the very least acknowledges that it's happening, even though they barely do shit about it. And one party that's like, oh no, I don't know what you're talking about. Every year for like the past, I don't know how many has been the hottest on record. I don't know what you're talking about global warming. It's still kind of chilly in here to me. Where was I? Got off on a tangent about that. But anyway, that's the thing. It's like, again, not everything they do has involves climate change. However, everything they do does end up being a thorn in the side of big business. And of course, as Republicans, they just can't have that. To hell with you having with the fucking peasants having clean drinking water. If they want clean drinking water, they should buy it out of a bottle like a normal person. These assholes. Alright. 18 minutes in. If you're still with me so far, I appreciate it. Alright, next little part of this. The clean energy. Now, when I look at this budget and the way Trump and his administration, if you can call it that, have been acting as far as like budgeting and jobs and all this stuff, it's like all this crap. This like 1960s, 70s nostalgic, 50s like nostalgia bullshit. Like oh, back in the day we had coal mining jobs and oil field jobs and put 18 cent a gallon gasoline into V8 engines and everything was just fine back then. Yeah, well, times have changed. Alright? And one area that they have changed greatly is in renewable energy or clean energy. Wind, solar, hydroelectric to some point. Wave generation, stuff like that. And that's the thing, is like one of the good things about renewable energy is that it has benefits other than climate change, like solar. If you could put solar panels on the roof of a building and like storage batteries in a closet somewhere and entirely remove your house from the power grid, basically just be able to provide round the clock all your power needs from that, that's fantastic. Because it saves you a lot of money. Alright, regardless of whether or not you give two shits about climate change, hey, you don't have to pay an electric bill, so that's a win-win. And that is one of the things, like solar in particular, like solar and wind in particular, are coming. All right, like in fact, there's an article. Again, I'll put in a link in the description below. On Salon.com that was going over the efficacy. Efficacy? No, sorry. Maybe those were, I don't know. Anyway, the potential, the viability of solar going forward, and while the Trump administration basically wants to cut any and everything involving new technology for energy production, the rest of the industry and the rest of the world sees it much differently. In fact, basically, what we're looking at with solar is that by 2020, solar voltaic power is actually projected to be more cost effective than coal or gas-fired power plants. And that's not something like, oh, way down in the future. That's just a couple of years from now. That it'll actually be cheaper to get energy from the solar panels than from coal or natural gas. And that was the thing. That was the big deal with natural gas and fracking. Was that like, oh, natural gas it's clean and it's so cheap. Well, this is going to be even cheaper. And the rest of the world is paying attention to this. For instance, I think it was China. Like, let me see if I can pull it up, the part of the article here. This is an article from thinkprogress.org that basically right now Chinese companies now manufacture 70% of the solar panels in the world. Alright, and they have spent... Okay, see, here's the thing. Okay, let me just kind of go over a few things in this article here. China's last 5-year energy budget has invested $360 billion in renewable generation alone by 2020. Beijing calculates the resulting employment will be more than 13 million people. So 13 million jobs involving renewable energy. And over $360 billion in investment by 2020. Yet, Trump's budget, nothing. And cuts, adds nothing new and cuts what is there for clean technology, which is the Advanced Research Projects Agency Energy. They invest in innovative clean technology, program to improve manufacturing for clean cars, and a loan guarantee program which jump-started large-scale U.S. solar development and electrical vehicle development and construction, like companies like Tesla. So basically, yeah, they're just getting rid of all of it. Now, here's the thing, because when I hear this, when I read it, like, okay, what seems to me is that this plan, the thoughts that have gone into making these policies are either complete stupidity, which if it's that, then it would be Trump himself. They're just like, oh yeah, clean energy, that's climate change. Climate change is a hoax. Get rid of it. And he just doesn't think about it any more deeply than that. Or it's like the right-wing oil industry, coal industry, stuff like that, effects, where they know they're in trouble because of these industries being on the rise, and they're trying to slow the change. Because when you look at it too, like, there's no future in coal and natural gas and basically burning fossil fuels for energy and transportation. There's no future in that. There's no big innovations. There's no big developments still to be made in internal combustion or coal power plants. They're done. That's it. They're gonna continue on for a number of more years, but that is it. However, you look at renewable energy and energy efficiency, and it's innovation everywhere. You've got new battery technologies being developed, and new markets forming, and new industries being formed and growing and growing. And so that's where the world is heading. That's where energy development, where energy production is going in the future. But they don't want to do that because that's not where they make their money. They make their money in coal and in oil and in natural gas. They make their money because people burn gasoline as opposed in their cars instead of electricity. And basically the future is either going to be without them or is going to lead to them having a much reduced role, both in money and in influence. And that's something that they are fighting desperately to slow down. I say slow down because they're not going to stop it. I mean, it's to me, it's kind of like the people who were in support of the horse and buggy industry trying to stop the auto industry. Like, it's not going to happen. This is the way of the future, and yeah, they might slow it down, but they're not going to stop it. And really, all they're going to end up doing is harming the country. Because while America is trying to bury its head in the sand and ignore the GOP and the American government, well, also a good portion of the Democrats, Joe Manchin, I'm looking at you, are trying to ignore that this is happening. The rest of the world isn't. We invented the fucking solar panel. America invented it, but now countries like China are kicking our ass in production and development. Because they are taking this seriously. They see where the future is, where things are headed, and they're on board with it, and they're pushing for it. And this country needs to follow suit. Because it will happen. It's already starting to happen. And it will happen with or without us. So, anyway, I'm going to go ahead and cut this one right here. Because, yeah, that's 28 minutes. Sorry. At this point, if you are still watching, you probably have a better attention span than I do. And I appreciate it. So, if you, at this point, if you're still watching, if you would be so kind, click, like or dislike, either way. Leave a comment, subscribe, whatever. All the relevant links and probably then some will be in the description below. And I will see you next time.